live examples. However, I want to show you this just so you understand exactly how the strategy works. Now, this is on the 1 minute time frame, and what we're going to do is go for the first 5 minutes. And you can see for the first 5 minutes, we're going to mark out the high and the low of the first 5 minutes of the New York stock open. The next thing we're going to do is wait for the stock to break above or break below the 5 minute high and the 5 minute low. So let's see if the stock breaks above or below. In this example here, you can see this stock is clearly moving to the upside, and it actually broke above the 5 minute high. And therefore, we've now completed the first step. We marked out the high and low of the first 5 minutes. We've also broken above the 5 minute high, which means we're now going to be looking for the retest and continuation to the upside. But how can we add even more confluence to this entry? Well, this is where we're going to look for that down close candle, like I mentioned. And to look for the down close candle, you want in the uptrend the highest down close candle, and for the downtrend, the lowest uptrend candle. So in this example, we can see two down close candles. Which one is higher? The second one. So we're going to mark out the down close candle here and move it over. Therefore, for this stock to retest, it can also come into that one candle rule because we know this is where buyers have to step in. Our stop loss is most likely going to be a break below, and we're going to be looking for continuation to the upside. Now, let's see if we actually get that retest entry. Okay, so in this example, you can see buyers stepped up and brought this above the 5 minute high. We then came back for the retest, and you can see this down close candle wicked into this one candle rule, showing that buyers stepped up aggressively exactly where they needed to hold price above, along with holding and closing the candle above the 5 minute high. Now, to enter into this trade here, our stop loss is going to be a break below the one candle rule, and we need at least a 2R multiple. At high of day, this was only a 1.85. Therefore, that 2R multiple comes at the whole psychological number of 183. This gives us about a 2.49 risk to reward trade, which means we're risking $770 for $1,590 of a potential result for this trade. So let's play out this trade and let's see exactly what happens. And just like that, you can see we hit our full profit target for this trade. We were done before 11 a.m. Eastern. And like I said in the beginning of this video, I only trade from 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern every day. So I showed you this example so you understand exactly how I use the first candle strategy in combination with the one candle rule to get high probability entries for my trades. But now let's go over and look at some live examples of me actually executing this trade in the real markets. And that way, by the end of the video, you'll learn exactly how to use this strategy. Okay, so here we are on our first live example. In this example, you can see we have our first 5 minute low down here and we have our 5 minute high up here. So what we want the stock to do initially, exactly how I showed you in the last step, is to either break above the 5 minute high or break below the 5 minute low. The first step we're waiting for is simply to mark out the high and low and wait for the stock to break above or below. Now, this is a trade that I took live, so let's listen into exactly how I was planning my trade out. Tesla pre-market high retest, a lot of buyers stepped in off of that level. Now what we can be looking for on Tesla is the retest of 315.46 plus the 5 minute high. The 315.46 is a pivot level from yesterday. It's also a 5 minute high. On top of that, we have the red candle on top right there as well, which would be the one candle rule. So a lot of different factors on why that would be a high probability retest. But we'll see if we get that 315.46 retest. So in this example, you can hear me say that we broke above the 5 minute high. We also have this one candle rule down close candle because now that we broke above, we are going to mark out the highest down close candle for the move to the upside. In this example, that would be this candle right here. So for this example, we know our stop loss is going to be a break of this down close candle. And for our profit target, we would be aiming for this move all the way back up into 317.50s. So now we would want the retest on Tesla, show strong price action, and then look for continuation to the upside. Yeah, Tesla, this is the exact level, like I said. The 317.50 calls is what we can be looking for on Tesla, the 317.50 calls. So just because there's many traders that are listening into the live trading session with me, I am explaining what contracts I will be playing because I do trade options. So I'm talking about the 317.50 calls. Therefore, there's no confusion on exactly what I'm looking at. And now I'm simply just waiting for strong price action on this 5 minute high plus this one candle rule. Let's see if buyers step up near this area. Qs is coming down to low of day here. The 317.50 calls is what I'm interested in. Tesla, I took the 317.50 calls here as well. The
50 calls on Tesla. One candle rule, like I said, a lot of different confluences near this level. Tesla, this one does have the strength so far in terms of relative strength.
So as you can see here, once this candle closed and strong buyers stepped up, I entered into Tesla as that candle closed into the next candle. And now I'm looking for that move back to the upside on Tesla after entering in based off of the one candle rule and the 5-minute high, exactly like I explained in this video.
Yep, there's brand new high day out here on Tesla. Boom, I'm taking a little bit more off on Tesla here as well. A 318 coming in on Tesla, nice pop after that 317.
And you can see, just like I explained, this one had that 318 push. I let everyone know that this is where I'm scaling out of Tesla at that 318 key level, exactly how I had planned and laid out before even taking the trade. And this was a great trade and a very simple way to show exactly how I use the 5-minute strategy along with the one candle rule. And of course, there was thousands of traders that were listening to this exact trade, not because they're trying to make quick money just by following my signals, but rather they're trying to learn a long-term skill the right way. Now, with this being said, this was the first example on Tesla. Let's go over to one more live example so you see exactly how this strategy works. So on this day, I want you to notice a couple things. We have our 5-minute high up here and we have our 5-minute low down here. On top of this, we actually rejected off of the previous day high, which is this level right here, and we are now moving back to the downside. So we can clearly see that Tesla is already pretty weak for the day. Therefore, we're most likely going to be waiting for the 5-minute low break. However, because we're coming into the day with no bias, all we're going to do is wait either the break of the 5-minute low or a break of the 5-minute high. So let's see exactly what happens on this day.
So Q so far rejecting, Tesla coming back down a little bit here as well. And then on Tesla, you just want to see continuation to the downside and then the retest of low of day that we're currently putting in right now.
So for Tesla, you can hear me say that we want to see a move to the downside and then the retest of the low of day that we have right now. The low of day that we have right now is also the 5-minute low. So 5-minute low with the retest to the downside if we can get the break below low of day. All right, so here's Tesla breaking below low of day or the 5-minute low, and therefore we've now confirmed that this stock is bearish and we are looking for the retest back into the 5-minute low. Now, we also want to mark out the up close candle because remember, for a move to the upside, we're looking for the down close candle. However, because this is a bearish example, we are looking for the lowest up close candle. In this example, that lowest up close candle is this one right here. This is a green candle, and therefore we could mark out the high and low of this candle, and we know if the stock does come back into this retest, this is still a valid retest for a move back down to low of day. In this example, my main target that I would be targeting out would be that 301 key level. Now, let's see how Tesla ends up setting up.
We'll wait to see if Tesla obviously can retest back into this 303.50-ish area.
And once again, you hear me say we want to see the retest of Tesla into that 303.50-ish area, and that's because this is, of course, the 5-minute low on top of the one candle rule that we have right here.
So let's keep an eye out on Tesla 303.50s. Yeah, this Tesla retest, we want to see the 302.50s basically hit. We want to see weak price action. If we can get weak price action, we can look for the downside on Tesla. Let's see this retest here. Let's see if we can get weak price action. For the contracts we can actually be looking for, we can look at the 302.50 puts, the 302.50 puts on Tesla. I'm going to be looking at the 302.50 puts. Let's see if we can get weak price action here. You can also mark out the one candle rule right above this 303.50 level. But yeah, I took the 302.50 puts on Tesla. Just took some off here. This is my first scale on Tesla.
And just like that on this example, you heard me talk about exactly where I entered this Tesla trade. And you can see this one had a very nice move all the way down into 350s. And we were able to capture this move live in the accelerator